My greetings to you all and my congratulations to the organisers of this event. It's a truly remarkable event and it grows in strength each year. So my congratulations to you for being here and to the organisers for the event. We live, I think it is clear, in very dangerous times. I know that many of you have joined with us in the Stop the War Coalition in demonstrating, marching, protesting and organising against the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. We want now to talk about the upcoming years and the threat of future wars. Because in the past 12 months, since I spoke to you last at this event, there has been a spread of war. It is true that the US and Britain and their allies are losing the war in Afghanistan, that they are not prevailing in Iraq. But in their desperation, they have spread the war. The war is spreading from Afghanistan. It is destabilizing Pakistan. The Americans are making raids into another sovereign country, into Pakistan. But perhaps even more worrying is the conflict that broke out earlier this year in the Caucasus, the war in Georgia, because that was a war fought by Georgia, begun by Georgia as a US proxy. The US have financed and backed Georgia. They supported Georgia's candidacy to join NATO. And therefore the conflict between Georgia and Russia was in reality a conflict between the US and Russia. And this is more dangerous even than the previous conflicts because it raises the likelihood of war between the major powers. All the wars that we've seen so far, between Britain and America and Afghanistan, or between Britain and America and their allies and Iraq, these have been wars carried out by the giants of the international system against very small states, much weaker economically, much weaker militarily than the US. But the conflict between the US-backed Georgia and Russia raises before us the even more dangerous prospect that two nuclear powers, two industrialized powers, two of the major powers in the world will come to blows, will come to the exchange of weapons, will come to a war because of the prospect begun by George Bush, supported by Tony Blair, carried on by Gordon Brown, of the expansion of American and Western power after the fall of the Berlin Wall. So this year, we have to recommit ourselves to fight for an end to war not only in Iraq and Afghanistan, but we have to commit ourselves to preventing the spread of war to the Caucasus, to a conflict with Russia, to a further destabilization of Pakistan. These are the tasks ahead of us in the fight for peace. But there is also another task which presents itself to us this year, which wasn't there so clearly before us last year. And it is this. We now know that the system that produced war is now an economic disaster as well as a diplomatic and military disaster. We know that we are now facing the onset of a recession which will see millions of ordinary working people lose their jobs, see their standard of living decline, lose their houses, that we will see this winter unprecedentedly large numbers of old people facing the choice about whether they should eat or heat their homes. The same system that gave us the war in Iraq, that gave us the war in Afghanistan, which threatens to spread the war around the globe, that same system is now saying to the people who paid for those wars with their taxes, we can no longer guarantee your job. We can no longer guarantee your home. We can no longer guarantee a proper education for your children. That we can't guarantee to look after you if you are sick. That we can no longer afford to keep old people to a standard of life that should be expected in the fourth richest economy in the world. The people who brought you the war are now bringing you an economic disaster. And of course, once that disaster hits, then the drive to war, to recover what is being lost economically by what they can do militarily, that drive to war will become sharper and more dangerous because of the economic crisis. So this year, I say to you, please renew the commitment that you have had in the past to struggling against the war. Please renew the commitment that you have had to working with the Stop the War Coalition to prevent the spread of war. But please, also in your communities, in your trade unions, in your campaigning organisations, let's say to this government, we don't want the war and we won't pay for your economic crisis. You were the people who brought us this system. You were the Prime Minister who told us there could be no return to boom and bust. We will not pay with our jobs, with our standard of living, with our healthcare, with our education, for a bankrupt system that seems only able to deliver economic crisis and war. That's the commitment which we must make this year. And I hope that you will join with us in defending our communities and our people from the twin threats of recession and war. Thank you very much.